I stood in the parking lot of Harvest Table for 20 minutes before I finally drove home. The reservation was still under my name. The corner booth I'd specifically requested, the one with the little string lights above it, was probably still empty. I'd asked for it 3 weeks in advance because my aunt always said it reminded her of the porch at Grandma's old house. I thought she'd like that. I thought they'd all like that. Nobody came. Let me back up. I turned 32 in October. Not a milestone birthday, I know, but it felt like one to me. 2 years before, I'd lost my job when the marketing agency I worked for folded overnight. I mean that literally. Friday we had jobs, Monday the doors were locked, and someone had taped a notice to the glass. I spent 8 months freelancing, scraping together enough to cover my rent in Nashville, eating a lot of rice and beans and pretending everything was fine when my mom called. Then I landed a full-time position at a mid-size healthcare company doing their internal communications, and slowly, really slowly, I clawed my way back, paid off the credit card debt, built up my savings again, started feeling like myself. So turning 32 felt like coming up for air. I wanted to celebrate that, not just the birthday, the survival of it, the making it through. I started planning in August. The restaurant first. Harvest Table is this warm, wood-paneled place in East Nashville that does a prix-fixe dinner on weekends. It's not cheap, around $65 a person before drinks, but I wasn't asking anyone to pay. I was treating everyone. That was the whole point. I'd been the one who couldn't afford things for so long, and now I could, and I wanted to share that. I made a playlist, 2 hours of music. Some old Fleetwood Mac, some Patsy Cline, some stuff I knew my cousin loved, a few songs my brother used to play on road trips when we were kids. I put real thought into it. I sent it to my sister beforehand as a little preview, and she texted back a string of heart emojis. I sent the invitation in a group text about 6 weeks out. My mom and stepdad, my brother and his girlfriend, my sister, my aunt, my mom's younger sister, the one I've always been closer to than most, my 2 cousins from my aunt's side. That was the core group, 8 people. One dinner. I said I'd cover everything, just show up. My mom said she'd be there. My sister said she wouldn't miss it. My aunt said, and I remember this exactly because I screenshot it, I wouldn't miss your birthday for anything, sweetheart. Already looking forward to it. I followed up 2 weeks before. Everyone confirmed. I made the reservation. I sent a reminder the week of with the address and parking info, and told them we'd start at 7. I even mentioned that I'd planned a little something for after dessert at my apartment. Nothing big, just cheesecake and some wine. The day before, I was at the restaurant dropping off a small basket I'd put together. Little things for the table, some candles, a few photos I'd printed of us over the years. The hostess was so kind about it. She told me the corner booth was all set. I went home and wrapped some small gifts. Nothing expensive. Just things I'd thought about. A book from my brother that I knew he'd been meaning to read. A little succulent for my mom because she'd mentioned wanting one. A knitted scarf for my aunt in her favorite color, burnt orange. I got dressed that evening feeling genuinely happy. That specific, clear kind of happy that doesn't come around all that often. I put on the black dress I'd been saving for a real occasion. I drove to the restaurant at 6:45, told the hostess I was the first one there, and sat down in that booth under the string lights. I ordered water. I looked at the menu even though I'd basically memorized it. 7 o'clock came. Then 7:15. I texted the group, I'm here. Corner booth in the back. Come find me. 3 dots appeared under my mom's name. Then disappeared. 7:30. I told myself traffic. It was a Saturday, it could be traffic. 7:45. I called my sister. It rang 4 times and went to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. I texted her separately. Hey, is everything okay? Are you on your way? She read it. No response. I sat there for another 15 minutes with a breadbasket I wasn't eating, and a server who kept coming by with the patient, slightly pitying look of someone who has seen this before. Finally, just before 8, My phone buzzed. It was my mom. Honey, I'm so sorry. We're at Tyler's. He got the new truck today, you know, the one he's been saving for. Everyone's here looking at it. We lost track of time. Can we do dinner another night? Tyler is my brother. He had been saving for a truck. An F-150. Loaded. The kind that costs more than my annual salary. He'd been talking about it for months. But I didn't know he was picking it up that day. And I certainly didn't know that my birthday dinner, the one I'd planned for 6 weeks, the one everyone had confirmed, the one I was sitting at alone in a restaurant, would be abandoned for it. I read that text 3 times. Then I picked up the bread basket, set it aside, folded my napkin, told the server I was so sorry, left a generous tip for her time, and walked out. I sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes. I didn't cry right away. I just sat there with the engine off, staring at the dashboard, feeling something I couldn't name yet. Not quite anger. Not quite sadness. Something flatter and colder than either of those. I drove home, changed out of the dress, and ate the cheesecake I'd bought for everyone else alone on my couch. That was a Saturday night. Sunday morning, 6:14 a.m., I woke up to a text from my mom. We need to talk. Not happy birthday. Not I'm sorry we missed dinner. Just, we need to talk. I stared at the ceiling for a long time before I responded. It turned out Tyler needed help. The truck payment was going to stretch him thin. He hadn't fully run the numbers before signing, and my mom was calling a family meeting, basically, to figure out how everyone could chip in to help him cover the difference for a few months. She said it matter-of-factly, the way she always does when she's already decided something and is just informing you rather than asking. She said she thought I was in a good place now financially, and Tyler had always been there for me when things were hard. I asked her when Tyler had been there for me when things were hard. Specifically, she got quiet. I thought about the 8 months I was unemployed. I thought about the time I called her crying because I wasn't sure I could cover my utilities and she'd said, genuinely, that I should look into selling some things around my apartment. I thought about asking my brother once, just once, if he could spot me $200 until my next freelance payment came in. And he said he was tight. This was while he was planning a trip to Vegas with his friends. I didn't say any of this. I just listened. She said she thought maybe $500 a month for 3 months would be reasonable for me. $1,500 total for the truck my brother bought the day he stood me up for my birthday dinner. I told her I needed to think about it. She said not to take too long. I didn't sleep well that week. I kept running the numbers in my head, not because I was considering it, but because I was trying to understand how my family saw me. Like what version of me existed in their heads. Was I a resource? A backup plan? A person they confirmed dinner with and then forgot about when something shinier came along? The following weekend, my mom called again. Had I thought about it? I said yes. She asked what I'd decided. I said I wasn't going to contribute to Tyler's truck payments. She inhaled like I'd said something shocking. She told me the family needed to stick together. I said I agreed, and I thought sticking together meant showing up to each other's birthday dinners. She told me I was being petty. I didn't respond to that. I let it sit in the air. After a while, she moved on, trying a different angle. Tyler was stressed. The girlfriend situation was complicated. He needed the truck for work. I said I understood that and it still wasn't my responsibility. Then she said something I think she genuinely believed was a trump card. She said my aunt had put in $200 already and that even my cousin had offered to help. I asked if my aunt had mentioned anything about my birthday dinner. Silence. My aunt, the one who said she wouldn't miss it for anything, had not texted since that Saturday, had sent nothing. I found out through my cousin, who is actually pretty decent, and told me the truth. My aunt had been at Tyler's that night too. She'd gotten the text from my mom in the afternoon and just went. Didn't think to call me. Didn't think to tell me she wasn't coming. That hurt more than my brother's truck, honestly. My aunt was the one I'd put the burnt orange scarf aside for. The one who knew about my rough 2 years better than almost anyone. The one who'd sat with me in her kitchen one night and told me I was going to be okay, and she couldn't pick up her phone. I took some time after that. A few weeks of being fairly quiet with everyone. Not cold exactly, just not available. I stopped responding to the family group chat, which immediately prompted two people to ask if something was wrong. Not my mom. Not my brother. Two cousins. My brother texted me eventually. Not to apologize, to ask if I had a good ladder he could borrow for something at the house. I said I didn't. My mom sent a birthday card 3 weeks late with a $20 bill in it. I was 32 years old. I'm not sure what she thought I'd do with $20, but I kept the card because it had her handwriting in it. And I'm not that far gone yet. My sister was the one who actually called to apologize. She was at Tyler's too that night. She admitted it, which I respected, but she said she'd felt awful about it almost immediately and hadn't known how to say so. We talked for a long time. I told her I wasn't angry at her in particular. I was exhausted by the pattern. She knew what I meant. She'd been watching it longer than I had. I want to be clear about something. I wasn't looking for grand gestures. I wasn't expecting anyone to fall over themselves. I'd planned a dinner. I paid for it. I'd asked for one evening. What I got was a lesson I probably needed to learn more directly than I'd been willing to before. I was not, in my family's accounting, a priority. I was someone who was doing well now and could therefore be called upon. I was someone who could be confirmed and then cancelled. I was someone whose hurt feelings were, in my mother's framing, pettiness. The thing about being the family member who goes through the hard time and comes out the other side is that people seem to think your recovery means you're back to being fine in every way. Fine financially, fine emotionally, fine with whatever the family needs. They don't really ask what it cost you. They just see the stable version and assume the math is easy now. I decided around Thanksgiving to stop doing the math is easy now. I decided around Thanksgiving to stop doing the math for everyone else. I didn't make a speech. I didn't send a long text. I just quietly started doing less. I didn't offer to host Christmas Eve like I usually did. When my mom mentioned Tyler's insurance situation and how he was trying to find a cheaper plan, I said that sounded really tough and changed the subject. When my aunt finally reached out, casually, like none of it had happened, asking if I was coming to our holiday cookie exchange, I said I had other plans. I did have other plans. I'd made them. I spent Christmas Eve with two friends from work. We made a very chaotic attempt at homemade pasta, drank too much Prosecco, and watched a movie neither of us had seen. It was one of the better evenings I'd had in a long time. Not because my family wasn't there, but because everyone who was there had chosen to be. I've been back in touch with my family since then. It's not a clean break. I'm not sure I want it to be. My sister and I talk regularly. My mom and I have a surface-level warmth that I've accepted is probably the ceiling. My brother and I are polite at gatherings. My aunt and I had one conversation where she acted like October hadn't happened, and I let her, because I'd already processed my end of it and didn't need her to process it out loud to feel resolved. The burnt orange scarf is still in my closet. I kept it. I like the color. What I know now that I didn't let myself fully know before. Love that only shows up when you have something to give is not love. It's logistics. And I'm nobody's logistics coordinator anymore. I still go to Harvest Table sometimes. Usually on my own, actually, for lunch. The hostess remembered me, or pretended to, which was kind either way. The booth with the string lights is a good place to sit. I bring a book. I order something I actually want. I don't look at the door. If you're in a family that has spent years making you feel like your needs are an inconvenience while your stability is a resource, I want you to hear this. You are allowed to stop. You don't have to blow everything up. You don't have to write the big confrontational letter or make the tearful phone call where you finally say everything. You can just quietly, deliberately start putting yourself first. Not as revenge. Not to punish anyone. Just because it's time. The candles at Harvest Table burned all the way down that night, I imagine. The corner booth sat empty. The playlist played in my car on the drive home. I forgot to turn it off. And somewhere around the Patsy Cline song, I started to cry. Not for the dinner. Not even really for the birthday. For how long I'd been arranging the lights, setting the table, making the playlist, hoping that this time would be the time when they showed up. I'm not arranging the lights anymore. But I'm doing okay. Actually okay. Not the kind I used to perform on the phone. I wake up in my apartment, which is mine, which no one has keys to, and I make coffee and I don't owe anyone anything. That's not nothing. That's actually everything. I've thought a lot about what actually happened that October. Not the dinner. I mean the years before it. Because the dinner wasn't really the beginning of anything. It was just the night I finally couldn't pretend I didn't see it. Here's what I've come to understand. The way people treat your time tells you exactly how they've categorized you. Not who you are to them emotionally, not what they'd say about you at a holiday table, but who you are in their actual daily decision-making. And for a long time, I was the person my family categorized as available, reliable, fine. The one who had struggled and therefore understood sacrifice. The one who, now that she was stable, could be counted on without being asked. Nobody sat down and decided to take me for granted. I want to be honest about that. My mom didn't wake up thinking, how can I disregard Kara today? Tyler wasn't calculating. Even my aunt, who promised she wouldn't miss it for anything and then went anyway. I don't think she thought about it hard enough to be cruel. That's almost the harder thing to sit with. I wasn't worth the cruelty of a decision. I was just worth the absence of one. What I've learned, slowly, unglamorously, through a lot of quiet Saturday nights, is that integrity isn't just about the big moments. It's about the small ones that nobody's watching. Whether you keep the reservation you confirmed when something more exciting comes up. Whether you pick up the phone when you know someone's waiting. Whether you say happy birthday before you say we need to talk. The people who have integrity in the small moments are the ones worth building your life around. I didn't have enough of those people in my inner circle. And that wasn't an accident. It was something I'd allowed, slowly, over years of excusing and adjusting and telling myself that family means you give more than you take. I also had to reckon with my own part in it. Not that I deserved to be stood up. I didn't. But I had spent years making myself easy to overlook. I absorbed things without naming them. I lent money without terms. I confirmed that my needs were flexible by making them flexible, every single time. I taught the people around me that I could be moved to the bottom of the list because I never pushed back when they put me there. That wasn't weakness exactly. It was something I learned a long time ago about how to survive in my family. But survival strategies have expiration dates, and mine had expired long before that booth sat empty under the string lights. The resilience I'm most proud of isn't leaving. It's staying present with myself through all of it, through the anger, the grief, the 20 minutes in the parking lot, the cheesecake alone on the couch. Not performing okayness. Actually sitting with what was true. That's harder than it sounds when you've spent most of your adult life being the person who keeps it together. I'm not arranging the lights for people who won't show up anymore. That's not bitterness. That's just finally knowing the difference between love and logistics, and choosing accordingly.